Welcome to the CoDaKrew podcast match week 11 predictions for the Premier League. Our scores from last episode, as well as our scoring system, are on screen now. Last week, I somehow managed to get 13 points, meaning coming into this week we will be tied 87 to 87. That being said, let's start off a Europa League final rematch in Tottenham vs Man United.
I said last week I was concerned how Tottenham's goals have been coming too much off of individual moments, and I think this last game is what happens when no one player steps up. Point 0.1 XG, the least ever for Tottenham in a league game. I know we've debated XG here before, and we know that Tottenham's goals, especially as of recent, don't come off high XG tallies because they are from set pieces usually. But generally, just I don't know that they've been creating consistently this season. Definitely not in this game. They were shit in open play and from dead balls. Three shots from Kudus, all in weird spots, and because he doesn't have like the crazy finishing of Kane or Heung-min Son, he just couldn't make them count.
Yeah, this was feral domination. From start to finish, Tottenham did not look they were even in the game at all. I would say the second Bergvall got that concussion, it was completely over. Because we talk about individual moments from key players from Tottenham, and at times that was a Brennan Johnson, a Mohamed Kudus, a Matthias Tell, but as of recent, that he has been the only guy. Even Paulinho, I would say, someone who they brought in to be a distributor and anchor, hasn't been doing that. And as soon as he left, and Xavi Simons, who let's just be honest, has not had a good season so far at Tottenham, came on, there was just nothing there.
Yeah, and as usual, I've got to go back to those injuries with like Maddison, Kulusevski. I know we bring it up a lot, but those creatives that break the lines with good passes, smart movement, help Spurs find chances. Spurs really has no replacement for them, which makes it hard for me to say what Frank can do here, but it does plant a lot of doubt in my mind that they can find much against any team with a strong, energetic press like Chelsea had, and something which Man U can definitely bring to this game as well.
That is true. I would say probably the one bright spot for this Tottenham squad, though, is Vicario continues to be incredible because a 1-0 loss is obviously not the result you would want. But if there were any other keeper in there, that could have been 3-0, 4-0 that Tottenham were dealing with. He was absolutely miraculous once again. And I would say, yes, you're correct. Tottenham basically have like no extra midfielders at this point. Uh, Odebear is going to have to play as a starting winger because Kudus is injured as well. They are really running thin on options here. But the good thing is, I think they still have the set pieces. They still have corners as like a last ditch resort strategy. And as we saw in that match against Nottingham, Man United don't have the roster to deal with that.
Yeah, that's fair. And speaking of that match, I do honestly think Man U got a bit unlucky. They were lucky to be awarded the corner for their first goal. I know that was kind of controversial, but it was only such a big deal because they did take their set piece as well. They basically did in their game what you'd expect of Tottenham, but they did have quite noticeable problems in open play. They're usually comfortable when they're off the ball, just waiting for the right chance to like steal it, break fast for a chance at goal. You can't play that style against Deitch. That's his kind of style, and he can do it better than you. And I feel like when they
And the
had
thing, and that's also Thomas Frank's style, by the way.
right,
So look at who they're about to play now using
and
the same
I
strategy.
do think Frank can do it better as well. And with this roster, he kind of has no choice. I just feel like Man U really struggled to adapt against Forest, and then when they did let up for like a little bit, they got hit with two fast ones, and like you said, like set pieces for them, it's a good chance to score, but also a vulnerability on the defense. And Tottenham are good with those. They're pretty damn good with set pieces.
Yeah, exactly. I would say they have the same problem that Chelsea had started the season, which is, as you said, counterattacking. If they steal the ball, they have absolute incredible pace. Dallo to Dallo and Diallo, I should rather say, to overlap the wings. Mbumo, Cunha can also go out wide, and they just had so much pace that they could just easily break you down. But again, as you're saying, when you have a low block, you don't allow them those opportunities, as Tottenham will do as well. We haven't seen them be able to score in any other way. So that's going to be a big question mark. I would also say a big question mark is the same thing as you're talking about with the set pieces. Nobody's really stepping in to help it on defense other than the back three. We have, obviously, Lissandro Martinez still out with a long-term injury. You have Delit, you have Euro, you have Shane Lamens, who I think have been great. But Luke Shaw, I don't think has done a good enough job. We saw Diallo get basically murdered trying to defend set pieces, which on one hand you can say it's not his fault, but then again, if he's playing as a wing back and Bruno isn't going to help out, then like who else is going to do that job from defensively, right? So I think, as you're saying, Tottenham obviously amazing at set pieces. That is one of their fortes. I think that they'll have, even if they're not able to create a lot of chances as we saw against Chelsea, they might be able to sneak a win off of that anyways.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough. It's just like with the injuries these two teams right now and how they've been playing lately, I don't know that either of them have quite enough on-ball quality to put the other away for sure. Spurs are struggling badly in open play. They feel increasingly dependent on those set pieces and individual moments as well. And United are improving, obviously, over how they were like last season, but they still look uncomfortable when they had to take the initiative. And this is a game in which I think they will need to keep their feet on the ball. Both of these sides want to be reactive. Neither of them fully trust their attacking play. And so I think we're just going to see like really long spells of stalemate rather than and dominance from any one team. I'm going to say Spurs can scrap a goal off a set piece. They won't find anything from open play. And United can find an equalizer, but they won't find a winner. And I'm going to say it's a 1-1 draw.
I'm gonna be even more of a, I don't know, negative. I'm gonna be even more negative than you. I don't think United can score at all. I think this is gonna be an absolute slugfest. And some may say that the set pieces are not so reliable. I understand that's sort of a valid criticism. But as you brought up a few episodes ago, I think set pieces are like what, a quarter at this point of all goals being
Yeah, like
scored in the Premier League.
26% or something. Yeah.
It's yeah, it's such an inconsistent strategy that it is now no longer expected, and now it has become consistent. So I almost think that Tottenham can actually rely on this and score a goal, as you're saying. But Man United, to me, have not proven that they are capable of breaking down a low block and really coming back under pressure. So I'm just gonna go for Tottenham 1-0 win.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. We've got two teams next who I think finished pretty well last season, right around mid-table, but they're kind of down there in the standings right now, both looking to perhaps get an edge. We have Everton and Fulham.
These are two teams in quite interesting positions because they've just both quite recently gone back key players. Everton obviously missing Jack Grealish for that Man City game. He has come back, but I don't think he has really shown the levels we saw like right when he first started joining Everton, at least yet. And meanwhile for Fulham, Raul Jimenez obviously coming back was a big deal. He set up the first goal for the opener against Wolves, and then obviously later Wolves did get a red card, and that just sort of completely derailed the game. But I think he has shown that he can still be a difference maker, and he will be a key role on the Fulham offense now that he's able to come and play again.
Yeah. I think if I'm gonna speak on Everton, so when I was looking at that game against Sunderland, they looked composed in the first half, completely lost grip once the pressure came. They have a problem with control, good structure early on, and they struggle as games get chaotic. I think in that regard, the midfield is a big question mark. Garner works hard, Gay is experienced, Dewsbury Hall adds some tidy distribution, but together they don't give Moyes the physicality or tempo shift that you need when the momentum tilts against you. And when they get overrun in midfield, there's no one back there to like slow the game down, give Everton some momentum back. The team just looks timid under enough sustained pressure. And in the Sunderland game, they seemed, even after going ahead, almost just resigned to sitting deep and hoping to survive the match. Not the identity you'd hope this team would fall into, I think.
Very odd strategy to be trying to hold on to a 1-0 lead at the Stadium of Light, I have to say. And what's also quite weird is that I think it's not only that they drop back, but whereas, listen, if it were me, I would tell either Beto or Tiano Berry to just drop back because they can't really finish right now and just sort of let, you know, Ilman Njai and Jack Grealish. Ilman Njai especially, because of the way he plays, can basically play as a frontman striker, even though I know even though he knows he's a right winger. I don't know if anybody lists that as a secondary position for him. And yeah, man, like I don't know why David Moyes is so insistent on trying to play through the strikers. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Even the one goal that they did score was not anything tactical. It was just Iliman Njai has just that quality. He's able to dribble through the entire team, score a banger, That was basically what Jack Grealish was doing, except he was passing it rather than finishing. And now that he's taken a regress, to be fair to this Everton squad, Iliman Ndiaye has shown that he can still take on the role that he has last year. And I just don't understand, why aren't you leaning into your wingers more?
Yeah, I mean, Barry and Beto both feel like halfway solutions. Neither of them right now are well suited to being the
Halfway is
focal point.
generous.
Yeah, yeah, quarter way. Let's say quarter way. They're not well suited to be like the focal point of this team. And because Everton, they're trying to play through those strikers and they're not getting far. They just kind of get forced deeper and deeper through the game, which at Sunderland eventually cost them. Ultimately, I think they could use some midfield balance, but also, like you said, they really need some clarity with how they move forward across the pitch. Um, like maybe use a more direct threat like Beto from the start. Make use of those long balls instead of just giving possession away. But like, if you are gonna play back towards the end, don't keep trying to push with Beto because it's just not working. Uh, I think they just need to try and preserve the aggression that they had early in that match, which they were able to get through, like you said, playing Njai, playing Grealish. And honestly, just keep doing that until Beto and Barry can maybe come to form.
What I will say though, to those players' credit, is they can take the game over. There have definitely been games, especially earlier in the season, where the tactics may say one thing, but Jack Grealish decides to dribble past the entire defense, and there is Iliman Ndiaye, right place, right time, not by coincidence, but because he's so good at being a back post player. Or as we saw today, well, not today, but in the last match, Iliman Ndiaye can just take it on by himself, destroy a defense, and just create a game-altering moment. Yes, we haven't seen Jack Grealish do that since, but we know he has that in him. And I also know Iliman Ndiaye had to leave in the second half, which I think really hampered Everton's attack, by the way. Uh, but my understanding is I think it was just like a cramp. He should be back for this match, no problem, at least based on what David Moyes has been saying. So I'm assuming they're both going to be playing, and I'm assuming they're both going to be playing well.
Yeah, if he doesn't come back, that might be my scoreline might look a bit different in that case. But
Yeah, this was
yeah.
a big gamble for me, but that's my guess.
Right. Okay, Fulham. They finally got the reprieve they desperately needed after like a not so great streak recently. But it came against the weakest opponent in the league right now. Wolves just did not show up to the game. And it was nice that Fulham's wingers brought some urgency, some quality, and Jimenez finally looked like a proper facilitator again. But we're still yet to see if this side can dictate a match against a team that actually plays like they want to win. Uh, Too often this season, Fulham have controlled the ball but haven't done anything meaningful with it, and you can't expect every team to make defensive mistakes like Wolves does in order to let you kickstart your own attacks. Maybe against Everton, they get some more transition opportunities, especially if the hosts lose their shape late, like they did in that last game. But Fulham, they need to have some more speed, some more aggression. They can't just be so passive when they have the ball at their feet.
Yeah, the one thing that is good for them though is if you want to play for Raul Jimenez and if you want to have strong wingers, I think putting in crosses, just trying to be, maybe even if you're not being like a team that's just going on the attack, taking on the initiative, just the fact that they're able to do that, the fact that Jimenez has been able to be an anchor, I think, which is most important for this match in particular. The fact that Everton continue to have Brantford out from a long-term injury and have to rely on Keane and Tarkowski, who I just think have been subpar this season, Fulham could just try to get away with essentially parking the bus and getting the ball to the front three and hoping that they can make something happen.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough. I think ultimately this match will be defined by just who handles the pressure better. Everton's recent slump, I mean, it hasn't been for lack of structure or chances. They've gotten chances, but they don't have composure in those moments that they should be able to use to kill games off. Fulham, again, though they snapped their losing streak, they haven't proved that they can create chances against a team with some actual energy in their press. And so this game as well for me was maybe kind of questionable to predict. I think though, Everton have looked pretty resilient at home, and if they finish even one of their early chances this time, they can settle the game in their favor. I do think Fulham can make some dangerous moments as well, but Everton will find just a bit more, and so I have them winning 2-1.
Yeah, fully agree with you. Also have them winning 2-1. I think they will just be better on the day. I think Fulham, it's hard to glean too much against you, not just the Wolves team, but a Wolves team that went down to 10 men, right, relatively early in the game. So I'm gonna have to see more from Fulham before I can really put some more credit into them. So for now, I'm gonna agree with you. Everton 2-1 win.
Yeah. Okay. Then we go on to West Ham, who I think are still. They just got their first home win in months, and now they're hosting Burnley, looking to build on that momentum.
Man, Nuno needed this win.
He
Not
did.
just a win at home, but a win against a very strong Newcastle side, I have to say. And I've got to say, we can chalk that up to one man in particular. Only a 6.8 on SofaScore's ratings because they are dumb, but it is a man who has finally gotten the start for West Ham in their midfield, Freddie Potts. Absolutely cooked Newcastle. I think we're really starting to see the strain of a Newcastle midfield that is constantly being tired by all of these matches and not having a lot of replacements, which we could talk about more at when Newcastle is there. But man, Freddie Potts, absolutely incredible during that match.
Yeah, I want to say it was his first league start for Freddie Potts in that game against Newcastle, and I think he got man of the match as well. Just generally a very good performance. There was spark from a lot of the players on this team. You look at Potts, you look at Paquetá, who I think scored and assisted. Um, I will say, like, West Ham has often struggled to break down defensive sides. Like, they do rely on those individual moments from Bowen and Paquetá, always those two. But now, with the arrival of a defensive-minded manager in Nuno, and they've got some solid defenders like Diouf, Todibo, I think they'll be all right back there. And now they can hopefully build on that and find some consistency in the attack, which they will need if they're to comfortably escape the relegation zone. But I think if they're going to do that, playing against Burnley is a pretty good start.
Yeah, definitely getting service to the attack is going to be their big strategy here. Obviously, Luis Paqueta looked amazing in this match, but we all know that he's not very sustainable. He was sort of like Cunha last year, except Cunha was actually very consistent. What I will say though, what is giving me hope is that someone who is more consistent and who had a bit of an off game was Jared Bowen. Uh, Again, with this new and improved West Ham midfield, I think Bowen is getting a lot more service. The whole front three is, in fact, and he wasn't able to take advantage of his chances in this match. But in the games where Paqueta won't, I'm sure he will be able to step up. So I think we are starting to finally see Nuno build an identity around the squad, and I think that is potentially going to translate into this match as well. They're going to be hoping to build on a Newcastle win with what is, at least on paper, a relatively easy match against Burnley.
Yeah. Speaking of Burnley, I think they did well to hold Arsenal to just that two-goal margin, but overall, their season has been quite difficult. They have been able to absorb pressure defensively, but like they've just lacked attacking firepower to convert any of that effort on the back end into positive results, getting any goals to actually win their games. I will say, if you look at the game 2 weeks ago versus Wolves, or even the one before that versus Leeds, where they did manage to do a bit of scoring, it does show, at least versus struggling bottom half teams, they can find some goals. Unfortunately, though, while West Ham are still bottom half, it seems like their struggles may soon be over, so perhaps Burnley have caught them at a bad time here with this match.
Yeah, I wouldn't glean too much from the Arsenal match because this is an Arsenal squad that has conceded one shot on target in
Right.
four Premier League matches.
It's insane. We'll get to that soon
Fucking
enough.
trying to
Yeah.
go after Jose Mourinho's 2005 defensive record here. Apparently, I don't even know. But anyways, yeah, you're right. Burnley has shown some promise, but like you're saying, I don't know if this West Ham side is doomed for relegation, as they would have fought 2 weeks ago, perhaps. Right? So I think this would have been a great chance for Burnley. Uh, I would say this is like a relegation contention match here. I think until very recently, I said Burnley were basically guaranteed to to get relegated, but after those two big wins, I think there's a chance. But you have to remember, for every newly promoted team that stays up, there must be one team that goes down, right? So Sunderland is obviously going to stay up at this point. Wolves is obviously going to go down at this point. Uh, maybe you get a West Ham, a Nottingham, a I don't even know who else could really be in there. Maybe a Brentford could start slipping, but there's just not that many teams that Burnley would have to. There's not that many teams that Burnley could even potentially pass in order to make it. Because not only is it one of those? It's most likely two because I would still say Leeds probably at this point do look better.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I just don't think Burnley are ready.
Who
I
can
really
who can they sacrifice, man? I don't know.
yeah, like
Yeah.
I just think the league is getting too solid. I think we know how good Nuno can be. I think West Ham are sort of just destined to win this game.
Yeah, I mean, it's a real chance for them to build on that momentum. They showed with the win against Newcastle, even when things don't go according to plan early on, they can bounce back. And Burnley, while they have shown that same kind of fight, they just don't have the consistency to, like I said, actually turn that into goals and into wins and into points. They're still far from the finished product. West Ham's attack, maybe in like a pretty recent time frame, to be fair, has just looked a lot more promising. And I think they'll find their chances and they will be able to get ahead just on scoring. With their attacking options looking sharper lately. Burnley, as always, will make it tough. I think they can even find a goal potentially, but because I don't know that West Ham are especially strong in the defense yet. But if West Ham can impose their will early, they should have enough to see this one through. So I'm going to give them a 2-1 win.
I think this is going to be ordained by West Ham. I don't think they're necessarily even going to be playing that well, but I think Burnley just won't be able to score. So 1-0 West Ham.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Same margin, anyways. And now Sunderland still top four with a continual strong run, but now I think it is their biggest test yet. Really, they are at the Stadium of Light, but they are hosting Arsenal, who, like we said, are on amazing form right now.
Sorry to jump the gun here, but is this not the most obvious Arsenal 1-0, 1-0 to ever 1-0? Because this is an Arsenal squad that basically plays on scoring one goal, parking the bus, and making sure that they can win on that one goal. Because if you can't get any shots on target, you can't score. That's called math. And this Sunderland squad, they're going to be playing at the Stadium of Light. It's going to be very tough to break them down completely, to you know, to score a bunch of goals against them because it's really tough out there. And as for Sunderland's strategy, it's three things, right? It's counterattacking football, it's midfield strength, and it's set pieces. Unfortunately, Arsenal has defensive fullbacks, which makes it very hard to counterattack. They have an incredible midfield, which, that. And good luck trying to win the set piece battle against Arsenal.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say for Arsenal, man. They just churn out victories. The Burnley game, yes, they were playing Burnley, but I feel like it was an all around good showing for them. Good set piece game. Gyökeres, Saka combined well in the final third. Of course, they have the streak of clean sheets as well, so the defense, or at least Raya, must be doing very well to let that keep happening.
Well,
And
well, no, Raya could be like you could put a toddler out there if they're not going to get a shot on
right,
target.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
he's
but
not
but
gonna.
ultimately they still have great fullbacks, so it doesn't even matter.
True.
Raya
I
doesn't
mean,
need
like
to do much at all.
Raya is basically making a save every month. Like that, this guy is literally employed to do one thing per month. Like this guy's basically a fucking middle manager at a Fortune 500 company at this point.
What a piece of commentary, goddamn. Okay. Um anyways, they shut down opponents early in games often. So, like I think that's also been a key factor in their success. The only issue is Sunderland just do not quit in their games. And so I think Arsenal will need to bring their best here. But they're in great form right now, and if they play the way they have been lately, I think they'll be quite well off even at the Stadium of Light.
Yeah, this team is just inevitable. I don't even really know what to say. Like, they also, by the way, they did significantly rotating. They did significant rotating during the UCL. They played Mikhail Marino as a striker. Instant classic, instant banger right there. We got to see Christian Norgard. We got to see, a lot of rotating. This team has definitely grown in depth. I think Gyökeres didn't play either because, well, yeah, Marino. So yeah, I mean they have all hands on deck, and like I would say for West Ham against Burnley, Arsenal just feel inevitable, right? They have now a 6 point gap. The Premier League is maybe reset back to default settings a little bit now that it's City and Liverpool in second and third again. But the Arsenal gap is going to be just so difficult for anyone to overcome. We have to remember Arsenal has a 6 point gap, and they've already played both Man City and Liverpool, and Man City and Liverpool are not going to play each other until this match. So Arsenal are guaranteed to at least grow their lead on one of these teams, providing that they're presuming that they're able to win this match.
Yeah. Okay, as for Sunderland, like I said, it's just sheer grit that is getting them like keeping their place on the table. Look at that late game winner versus Chelsea 2 weeks ago, for just one example. But they
Should have
do
gotten a
have,
penalty there as well.
yeah, but they do have, to be fair, growing quality, especially in their attacking play. I think the draw with Everton showed, even when things aren't quite as they like it. Obviously, the play style wasn't quite working out for them there. They can keep pushing for points. They usually go for that counter-attacking approach, leave the ball to the other team. But unlike Man U in their match, I don't think they really struggled too much on the ball here. That trio of like Lefay, Traore, Isidore have kept causing trouble for defenses. And Granit Xhaka, great leader with good technical ability. He can still put up a strong press. Just a wonderful addition for this team. And obviously Arsenal is a difficult opponent for everyone in this league, no matter whether you're like a Wolves or a Man City. But for Sunderland here, like I know they can bring that energy, especially at home. And so if anyone can manage to break through Arsenal's defense, I think Sunderland have got a pretty decent shot.
I mean, I guess it is true, strictly speaking, that like you could make a very solid case that the best Premier League player in the last two matches has been Granit Xhaka. He has been incredible in both games. But listen, Declan Rice,
Yeah,
what are you gonna do?
right.
There's a reason he's not playing for Arsenal anymore. With all due respect to the man, he is a great player, but what are you gonna do?
Okay. Should we just get to predictions then? Because I feel like there's
I
not
already
that
made my
much to
prediction.
say.
1-0 Arsenal,
Well,
just to
yeah,
be very
1-0.
clear.
Okay. You know what? Honestly, I think I definitely get the idea that Arsenal they score one, and assuming Sunderland don't let up a goal, they're not gonna go for a second in the Stadium of Light if they don't need to. But I quite like the idea that Sunderland are the ones to finally break that defense. Honestly, I think Arsenal still win though, and I have to at least give the 1-0 credence, so I'm gonna make it a 2-1.
Fair enough. See here, man. Sunderland is like maybe the Nottingham of the season. So it would be great if they do well. If they're able to get a win here, that would be a massive statement because that is a moment of saying we are like the Nottingham of last season. We are here to stay. We can finish in a USCL spot. Obviously, I know Nottingham did falter in the end, but yeah, that would be massive for them. I just don't see it, even though I would probably also really like to see Sunderland. Not only making it interesting for them, but closing the gap for Arsenal to keep it interesting for potentially the top three race if Sunderland do eventually drop out of that.
Yeah. Okay, I mean, we still have same goal margin regardless, so if your prediction's right, I at least get 2 points. Uh yeah, then we can go on to Chelsea versus Wolves. Wolves are, I think, looking to avoid their sixth loss in a row as they go away to play the UCL hopefuls. Yeah. Good luck, Vitor Pereira, I guess.
Yeah, Vitor Pereira, you did a good job last year. Yeah. Unfortunately, you won't be doing a job for much longer, but in this match against Chelsea, you're cooked because this Chelsea squad has found their juice back against Tottenham. Again, as I said before, they should have had 3 or 4 goals, and it's not because they can't finish; it's because Vicario is the goat. And so, when Wolves are, you know, just as bad as they are, I don't think that there's much I can analyze here. I think the question is how many goals will Chelsea score, and that is the result. That number to 0.
Yeah. You know what? I'm actually thinking because I just realized I saw a news article earlier today about Vitor Pereira actually getting sacked. Um, is he even still taking care of this game? What have we got going on here? Who is managing this one?
Um. Oh shit! I didn't even realize that. That was today.
Yeah, that
Oh
that
no!
was that
I
was
did not even. I didn't even see
that
it.
was
I didn't even see it.
it was actually like maybe a day or two ago, but I didn't.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't considered because I have no clue
I'm
who
sorry. This
they're
team is
focusing on.
too irrelevant for me to care.
Not to even
Um.
follow, bro. I
Yeah.
mean,
I don't know if it's gonna
we
if
knew
this
it
is
was
gonna
gonna
show on
happen.
the screen, but as you can see, for Wolves there is no manager listed.
Right.
Uh.
So
What I will say
yeah,
is maybe that's for the best. Maybe it's time to have a player manager. You know, put in Munetsi, put in Adbadu.
If Strand
I
Larson can't
understand.
score, at least he can coach, man.
Right. If Strand, yeah, he might be more useful that way. I know Emmanuel Agbadu does have a red card. That means he can't play. That doesn't mean he can't manage, as far as I am aware. Right? I think that might be a technicality there in the FA rules. I know that when a manager gets a red card, they can't manage, but maybe they can play. Maybe it's the other way around as well.
Yeah, nothing to say for Wolves. Like I do have stuff to say about their last game, but it's Wolves. They're playing as they have been playing for the whole season, pretty much. We can talk about Chelsea. So they had that victory against Tottenham, and it was like half down to Tottenham playing a dreadful offensive game. But to be fair, Chelsea took advantage of lots of openings as a product of like high pressing, midfield dominance. Caicedo provided the spark in the middle of the field, won the ball in key areas, played a vital role in Pedro's goal. And honestly, just like the pressing game has been a standout for them under Maresca. And as long as Caicedo, Fernandez as well can keep working to like break up play, transition quick into the attack, Chelsea will have many chances to score here. I feel like that was maybe a given since they're playing Wolves, but like they will have no problems at all finding chances on net.
Yeah. Show some respect to Reece James as well. By the way, I think he is a right back, but honestly adapted very well to be Caicedo's partner, especially if you want to play Enzo higher up the pitch, which I think makes a lot of sense given Cole Palmer continues to be injured. That does seem to be a good future pairing. It will be interesting to see how this new Chelsea squad will play against good teams, but for this match, Chelsea 3-0 win.
Okay. Yeah. I had a 3-1. Uh, I'm not
Who's
even
the
sure.
one?
I have no clue. I just feel like
Maybe Bellicard?
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know.
Bellegarde comes through. Um, I don't know. Maybe Strand Larson finally does do something from open play.
Yeah, okay, yeah, sure,
Just
sure.
in.
Yeah,
No,
Strand
no, no,
Larson
no,
will
no,
do
no, no. But
something.
think
Uh
about
huh.
it. It would be perfect. He does something in open play in the one game where it's not gonna win them the match.
Yeah, no, now that you say it like that, I could see that happening. Yeah,
Yeah. 3-1 win. Maybe without Pereira, they do actually find a goal against a half decent team. It won't
that would
save
be
them from.
hilarious.
It won't get them a point though, unfortunately.
The thing
So
is, they're gonna have to appoint an intern, but I don't know who wants the job right now. This feels like, yeah, I don't know. Brendan Rodgers, maybe?
okay, okay, bro. We're moving on. This is enough talking about Wolves. We'll come back to Wolves when they actually have a manager listed on SofaScore. Maybe we'll consider discussing them then. Uh, right now, Villa, Bournemouth. Villa disappointing loss to Liverpool, I think, but I mean they've been on decent form lately, so we'll see if they can keep that up here. Yeah.
Yeah, they have been on decent form. I would say I'm gonna assume that the Liverpool game was an outlier because Emi Martinez absolutely just gave you all a free goal, which is
Oh
very
yeah, yeah, the
uncharacteristic for how
very
he
first one.
plays.
Right.
Yeah, very, very odd. And I think, yeah, I honestly I would say Liverpool just finally looked like the team that they played last year. Like y'all started Andy Robertson, y'all just looked really solid, and I wouldn't even say that Villa defended badly. I think actually Paul Torres and Ezri Konsa were very decent, and they just they got a few chances here and there, but I think they just got absolutely outclassed, and I think a Bournemouth that's not going to make me think too much more lowly of them for a match against Bournemouth, who are also a very solid side, but not on that level.
Yeah, like you said, it was kind of just an Emi Martinez stinker. The rest of the defense not especially bad. Uh, I have seen obviously like Villa's direct attacking play and some pretty high pressing. Those have been their defining features under Emery, but they have at times struggled to create clear chances. I know going back to XG, I know I use it a lot. They do have like the third lowest registered XG in the league right now. And I don't think they're even a team that's super heavy on set pieces. So that is interesting. I think the City game was like an example of that high risk, high reward style paying off. The Liverpool game was one where it didn't. And so like just against Bournemouth, they'll just hope that the rest of the team, besides Emmy, who really needs to regain his composure in net, they'll hope that the rest of the team finds a more consistent attacking rhythm. Yeah. And maybe they can produce some
As
more
with
chances.
Yeah. As of Bournemouth, though, I talked about their defense last episode, and this is the conclusion I have. This is the conclusion I have. Bournemouth's defense did not improve since the first game, as you have said a few times. I think what happened is that they play a high line, and that typically works. But if the other opponent defense is sufficiently strong enough, then the high line backfires. In both of Holland's goals, Marco Senesi steps up too highly. There's a miscommunication among the backline, and it sends Holland through on goal. Where else do we see this miscommunication? Do we see a highlight not being utilized correctly? Those were the exact same mistakes we saw in the first match against Liverpool. So I actually don't think this defense has improved at all. I just think that their mistakes are masked against certain teams.
Yeah, the back four, particularly Senesi, Alex Jimenez, have struggled with transitions. We saw it in the City game. Leaves their goalkeeper Petrovic very exposed. And yeah, in that way, Bournemouth have conceded multiple goals in recent matches and just throughout the season. And without more defensive stability, they risk being caught out again. Villa are not obviously as consistently high scoring as Bournemouth. They did go a while at the start of the season without scoring at all, after all. But they're still very much an attacking threat, and leave them space, I think they can definitely take it. They have shown in their recent games that they are back to like being good at scoring. So you can't leave them too much here. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, similar thing you can say about Bournemouth as well. This is I think this is really applicable to both teams here because for Bournemouth, I think it is largely still based on it's largely still based on Antoine Semenyo, but we're definitely seeing other players starting to come in. I think Evan Nilsson could be back very soon. Uh, Uatra obviously very solid, especially on counterattacks, which would definitely be a big strategy just given the way Villa will play. And yeah, Villa, Ollie Watkins, I wouldn't even say has been necessarily that great this season, but just with the diversity of weapons they have, with the double pivot, they will also have quite a few chances.
Yeah, I think both these teams just need to like first focus on trying to tighten up their back lines, lest this turn into something like the Bournemouth Palace game that ended 3-3. If they can deal with the defense, they can hopefully provide more support for their own attacking players. For Bournemouth, I think you just push Krupi, push Semenyo, hope that like you find some gaps in the Villa line. For Villa, I do still think, even though they haven't relied on Watkins as much, he is still their top scorer as far as I'm aware, and I think he could be important here. Put him up against Diakite, who has had some decent showings, but I don't think Watkins will have too much issue getting past him for at least one goal. Bournemouth, though, have also got many promising attackers, and though they might be held back a bit here, I think they'll still at least find a few more chances than they did against City. So I can expect a goal from both of these teams, and I'm going to go with the 1-1 here.
I'm also going to go 4-1 here. I think Bournemouth are still much more consistent against like what we can call non-giants, and even though like Villa are by no means a bad team, I think against that level of competition, we've definitely seen Bournemouth thrive this season. So yeah, I think 1-1 seems fair.
Yeah. Okay, and then we move on to we have Brentford versus Newcastle. Newcastle coming off of a not great loss, really, against West Ham, even if it was against a new manager with Nuno. But yeah, what do you think of this game?
This is the first thing that worries me. I talked about earlier when we were talking about West Ham that Newcastle's midfield got basically outran and outdogged, and they just played a Champions League match and didn't rotate a single player on that already tired midfield. And now they're going to go back to Brentford, away to the Brentford Community Stadium, and probably play the same midfield again. I'm starting to be a little bit worried about this Newcastle side. I think we're really starting to see, uh, especially not injuries yet, but just with all of the fixture congestion, I think they're really going to start to struggle at this part of the season.
Yeah, 3-1 loss is a huge disappointment, of course, for a team that probably expected to be still clearly in the UCL race at this point in the season.
I think I said 3-0 win for that match.
Yeah,
So
I think I had a 3-1, and it was a 3-1 just for the other team. Uh, I don't know. Newcastle's like they early promise faded away very quickly after they conceded. They started well, but after taking the lead, they just couldn't find their rhythm, and eventually West Ham took control. I do think part of it is that they play a quite high energy style, and with those many games they've played over the past 2 weeks or so, it's probably gotten to them. Like I remember Woltemata looked very drained during that match against West Ham, and I imagine a lot of the other players are feeling the same.
even that one goal, by the way, that they did score was Jacob Murphy brilliance. But even again, I think that kind of highlights to our point where, listen, he is one of the few players who isn't a consistent starter. That's one of the few areas where they actually have depth in the right wing position, and it's only because Jacob Murphy recently came back from injury, right? So, as you're saying, Voltamade, amazing player, but he has a lot more work to do than the average striker does. So, stamina is a big issue for them. Johan Wissa, by my understanding, is still out, so they don't really have a clear replacement for that, of course. And so I could definitely see a lot of issues there. But talking about Brentford, we already know what their strategy is, right? There's two strategies. One, counterattacks. The opponent makes a mistake, and either Mikhail Damsgaard or Yamilarik will pass the ball forward to a Dango Oracha or a Kevin Schade who are free and in space and can make a counterattack. Very good at this, they are. And strategy two is you get Coyote to throw a long ball during a throw in, and chaos can happen, and you can score a goal off of that potentially.
Yeah, Brentford, I mean like they a bit inconsistent sometimes in regards to chance creation, but like when they do get going, they can go kind of crazy on attack. Like I know Palace they didn't find a single goal, but Man U they scored three. Liverpool they scored three. Uh you have guys like Damsgaard and Janelt who I mean like after Brentford's roster got stripped, I thought they would be a lot worse off, but they are able to at least at times support the attack pretty effectively, and more recently it's looked quite good for them. In these recent matches, they have been able to do a lot more with the attack. I think they just need to bring some more of that offensive potency. It's been pretty decent. The Palace game was an unfortunate showing. I don't know if maybe just the play styles didn't quite work
It
out for
is the
them.
playstyles, because how can you
Yeah,
counterattack a team like Palace? This is not
right,
possible.
exactly. So they had possession, struggled to convert it into chances, but I can't blame them too much. And I think against Newcastle, it'll be a better matchup for them. And so I expect to see a lot more from the offense here.
Can I just go to predictions?
Yeah, yeah.
All right. This is a Newcastle side that will be tired in the midfield, and that is the perfect conditions that Brentford likes to counter in. And you know what? When they have had that team that pushes it high and they're able to take advantage of the counter, what has happened every time they went up against a big team? Almost without fail, they've managed to pull off a stunning result here. So I actually think Brentford will once again go crazy and pull off, just like they did against Chelsea, a 2-2 draw.
A draw. Okay, you know what? I went a step further. I have a win for them. Um,
Whoa, okay.
yeah, seriously, it's
A
I
little,
like
a
I
little
know
PTSD here, maybe from the Liverpool fan, but I
yeah,
understand
no,
it.
that's absolutely what it is. It's because Newcastle's defense is looking kind of shaky. Their team generally is looking shaky, and they've struggled on the road before. You look at literally just now the 3-1 loss to West Ham. It's a good opportunity for Brentford to capitalize, and the best part is they are on good form as well, Brentford. Both these teams do similar amounts of scoring usually, but Newcastle might be a bit toned down given all those games they've had kind of sapping their energy. They can use that as an excuse, sure, for some of their more mediocre league showings, but that won't stop this Brentford side from taking advantage and kicking them while they're down. And I think that is exactly what they do. So it's going to be a 1-0 Brentford win for me.
All right, fair enough. I expected you to go the conventional route, but hey, look, this is ball knowledge. This is what you get on the pod. All right. Next match, though, this is going to be quite an interesting one, I would say. Crystal Palace vs Brighton, two teams that I think recently have been a bit shaky, but maybe they're bouncing back because I think they both got pretty convincing wins last week.
Yeah, for Palace, it was professional 2-0 over Brentford. To make it I think it's 2 wins now that they're on. Though of course, like it wasn't that long ago they had that win streak going, so maybe they can't gather up some momentum again. Uh Mateta's eighth goal of the season, and then like another strike from a well rehearsed long throw. We talked about those long throws getting real popular, and Brentford's good at long throws, but this is Palace that used one against them. So like they didn't dominate possession, they didn't carve Brentford open from open play, but they didn't need to. They were able to just work through structure, ruthless execution from the set pieces, an area that they have fully weaponized this season, I think. And it's worked well for them, the set pieces. For all the talk about like Arsenal and Chelsea and what they do with corner kicks, Palace have been pretty good in that regard too. I think another thing is obviously they're great on the transition, very fast on the transition, and against Brighton's fluid press, I think that is going to be crucial for them to find some opportunities, and I think they definitely will be able to.
Yeah, I think the fact that Palace are now utilizing set pieces, because remember the first goal was also a free kick, by the way, and long throw-ins. They are a team that, as you're saying, you would expect them to play on the counter to create these beautiful opportunities, which is definitely what we saw a lot more of last year. But the fact that Glasner this year, especially in more recent matches, has pivoted to play the style that you sort of have to play to break down a low block in the Premier League nowadays shows again maturity, evolution from this team, and I think that's a very good sign for them. The fact that they were able to bounce back from a few games without a win, not even that they were losing all those matches, but just that they weren't winning and able to adapt to what they have, I think is very encouraging. Um, what's also encouraging is their playstyle, right? Because even though they can sit back, they can also press you like dogs, and that is not ideal for the way Brighton play because we've seen that they like to play from the back. They're still missing some key players that would have helped them do that a lot better. And the last time that they went up against a team that pressed them high while they were doing that, it was Man United, and that did not turn out very well for them.
Yeah. With Brighton, I don't know. They like obviously their wing play is electric. They showed it against Leeds. Um, some clinical finishing in the final third, but like they had some flat patches. I think even in that game, like when Leeds were adjusting their shape, it was mostly well controlled. But then I do feel like against Palace here, who we've seen have like so many different ways to attack compared to Leeds, who I don't think had much of a showing at all. Brighton's dominance in that last game is not going to port over to this one. I think they will have a quite tough time here, especially playing away. They shouldn't expect to find nearly as much of possession as they did. And they will always have to be watching their backs because Palace will take any opening and utilize it. So they just have to be very careful. They can't make the kinds of mistakes they might have made in their last match.
Yeah, and especially again, uh, I think Matoma again is going to be missing this match as well. Diego Gomez has definitely stepped into his
Dude,
element a little bit.
how long have we been? How long
Dude,
have we
I
been
swear
saying
this guy has been like
Matoma
this
might
guy has had
show?
like this man has had a day-to-day injury for like a month now. I don't know what's going on.
Minte is
And
just not gonna have his duo until like winter, bro.
hey, Minte
Yeah,
Minte was pretty good last match though. That guy
he
was
was
low-key
to be
cooking.
fair. Yeah.
But yeah, it's gonna be tough. Especially again, like Crib Palace very good at defending wing attacks, which is also not great for the way Brighton play. So yeah, I think Palace just the tactics are really set up in their favor, I would say, and they're at home where they again haven't lost since February, which I keep mentioning. So yeah, I think Palace 2-1 win. I think is pretty reasonable.
Oh, okay. Um, yeah, I think Palace they won't mind Brighton having more of the ball. They can sit in like their compact mid block, just basically wait for Brighton to get too clever around the halfway line, spring forward through like Pino, through Sar. Brighton they have shown that they can handle like physical games if they settle into rhythm, and Welbeck has good link up play. Could try to pull Palace's center backs out of shape, but I just don't think Palace will be carved open very easily at home. And Brighton don't always stay switched on defensively for those 90 minutes. And so I think Palace can just nick a goal through a set piece or a second ball. I think just a 1-0. Yeah. I won't say that they go too heavy on the scoring here, but 1-0.
Yeah, fair enough. That brings us then to our next match. This is quite interesting because Sean Dyche, I would say, did not start very well with Nottingham, but can we arguably say that he is starting to find a rhythm here? Because the match against United was convincing. I mean, he played his his park the bus style, and despite going down a goal, it ended up working.
Yeah, they had structure and some moments of real quality. They weren't bothered about dominating the ball. They played exactly how you'd hope with Dyche. Weaponize those physical duels, force mistakes from the other team, and show really how dangerous they can be in like transitions and crossing situations. Just they're looking to be chaos agents, and it works. Really, it does. Gibbs White drifting into space between the lines, scoring the first goal with a very clever header, and then Savona a scrappy finish just minutes later. So this team, even they've still got bite in the box. And though they did collapse late, I think they will leave that match with Man U knowing that like their aerial threat, their pressing triggers, even their home atmosphere at the city ground can make this game ugly in all the right ways for Leeds.
Yeah, and even when that banger by Ahmed Diallo, which what are you going to do about that, goes in, he would have gotten a game winner if Murillo didn't get that goal line clearance last minute, right? So that is the scrappiness that we saw from Nottingham Forest last season. Yes, there's no Chris Wood, but I think if that's just the system they're going to play, again, this is a team that's not like last season. They're not going to play for Europe. They're going to play to not be relegated, basically. And I think now that Sean Dyche has gotten the system, he is going to, because of him, they're just not. So I think they're in a great position, and I think this is again one of those matches. I was talking about this in the Burnley segment as well. For every team that stays up, one team must go down. Another example of if Leeds stays up, maybe it's Forest that goes down, but I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, I think it is interesting that Nottingham, like 2 seasons ago, escaped relegation in 17th place. Then they went and did what they did last season, and now they're kind of back to that spot. But they do very much have the personnel to escape relegation again, no doubt. They have that. They have the play style right now to do it as well. Finally, a manager that actually fits their style. And so yeah, Dyche can just lean on that structure here. He doesn't need the team to dominate possession. Just try and stretch leads vertically with guys like Ndoye, Hudson Ndoye. Um, Still, you can provide physical chaos in the box with a guy like Igor Jesus, maybe, which Leeds will struggle to contain. If they don't win those first balls in their half, they will struggle a lot to keep like very close, scrappy shots from Nottingham away from the net. Set pieces could be interesting here. I know they forced a lot of corners against United, so Leeds should expect that along with long throws, scrambles for the second ball, lots of just very rehearsed routines. Um, yeah, I think like Forest, they've shown they can punch a team in the mouth, man. They just need to not be like sloppy in clearances on the other end because I know Leeds can score a late goal too, but like
But I think this is also a forgiving game though, because Leeds' finishing has not been great, and
yeah,
their striker is also I think injured. Potentially Newcastle Metcha could be back here. That will be interesting. But again, he's unproven in the Premier League so far, so this does seem favorable.
yeah, it's not great for Leeds to be honest. I mean, they're speaking of Leeds, like they're just coming in here as like after being physically just overpowered at Brighton, they cannot really afford to get dragged into Forest's kind of game with just scrapping for second balls in their own like near their own net, aerial duels, the like. Um, I don't know what to say. Like if they can find maybe Calvert Lewin early, get Aronson or Longstaff between Forest midfield and backline, they can maybe put some pressure on the backline. But they've not been great with scoring. Like you said, they're not great with finishing. I think they've had 3 goals away all season in the league. Some defensive issues too. I think just what they have to look for here, Leeds, is control. Don't try too hard to score, or you're going to risk leaving an opening that Dyche and Forest are all too happy to just waltz right into, and they can't score on you.
Yeah, I think this is going to be Sean Dyche's game. To be honest with you, again, like I don't think Leeds will be relegated. To be clear, they do have 10. They do have 11 points from these 10 games, which is like the perfect benchmark for how to stay up. And so I'm not saying they get relegated, but if they do, uh, a loss against Brighton, where they get dominated by better quality, combined with a loss against Nottingham Forest, where they lose to Dychball, to Brexit style football, a hallmark of the Premier League, we can point to these two games and say that was why they weren't able to stay up. And that's what I'm seeing happening for this match. I think Sean Dyche will just play his game, Nottingham will play their game, and they'll get a 1-0 win. Maybe not a maybe not a visually, aesthetically appealing performance, but getting the job done.
Yeah, I have exactly the same thing. They're not gonna blow Leeds away, but it'll just be they'll find their moments, some decent chances that get close, and then one moment like a set piece, a scramble in the box, will be enough to tip it for them. Leeds can maybe try and push late on, but they just don't survive the chaos for all 90 minutes. Nottingham are able to, through the chaos, they keep some semblance of control, and so they get away with the 1-0. Yeah.
Yeah, well then that brings us to, I mean, the match of the season, maybe? I don't know.
I
But,
mean, just because, well, right now, Arsenal, it seems like no one can beat them. But if
right.
anyone's going to try and take the title off of them, I think it's got to be one of these two teams.
And I think this is going to be a crucial matchup, maybe the biggest matchup we've seen in the Premier League so far. Because right now, I would say there are three teams that are in contention to win the Premier League. And after this match week, I think there will only be either two or one teams, depending on who can win this game. And I would say if it's a draw, that means Arsenal now have an 8 point gap in the Premier League. And I think at that point, we can essentially crown them champions.
Yeah, kind of hard to let up an 8 point gap. Okay, let's just get into City. I think for them the nice big takeaway from their last two games, between the Prem victory over Bournemouth and just earlier today UCL over Dortmund, their offensive depth is improving. Holland scored twice against Bournemouth, but Nico O'Reilly added a composed finish to seal the deal. Cherky as well, a dangerous support option, linked play, created space for City's forwards, and then in the Dortmund game, Foden had his brace, continues to thrive in the pockets, while Savinho, Nico Gonzalez, Reinders all contributed to that interplay that really let City dominate Dortmund in that last game. And Liverpool's got a lot of scoring threats too, and I think we've done a pretty decent job of using them all over this season, whereas City have been really relying on Erling at times. But if Pep can fix that issue here, it's one big advantage we no longer have over them.
I continue to say that actually relying on Erling Haaland is maybe not the worst thing because what has essentially happened at this point is unless you have Emi Martinez's insane night, like you cannot stop this man. And it's not that they're relying on him alone. There are many ways to get him the ball. It's just that the other team has to face the impossible choice of either defending him and leaving a bunch of other dangerous players open, or just biting the ball and hoping that he has an off day. So maybe not the worst idea in the world. And I would say you point out Cherky, I think he's going to be crucial because Cherky clearly knows how to find Holland. People are worried about this, but he's been a pass first player from what we've seen of him so far, and I think that match against Bournemouth maybe has earned him a few more starts in the Premier League, potentially in an important match like this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think City, they can probe Liverpool early. They will be testing that space behind like Van Dijk and Kanate, that space that I know so many times this season has opened up for teams. You have Cherky as well as maybe Foden, Silva looking to drag those same defenders out of position. And of course, Holland forced Liverpool's high line to stretch. And then you have City's width as well, and they've got overlapping fullbacks to create some crossing opportunities. And there are, like you said, just lots of people who can make plays on the City team. We have to make sort of that same decision: is do we try and take care of Holland and leave all the other guys open, or do we just hope that Holland doesn't do that well? Yeah, it'll be a tough choice, no doubt.
An impossible question. Also, another player we should mention, Rodri got a few minutes near the end against Bournemouth, which means he is finally back. And Nico Gonzalez, I think, has held it down recently. But I imagine a game as important as this, he might just get the start. And that is going to be a big question mark how he plays. And if he does play well, that could be a real challenge for, I think, a Liverpool squad that is really reliant on guys like McAllister, Szoboszlai to really generate offense.
Yeah. Speaking of Liverpool, I mean, That win was much needed for us over Villa. Going against a team on 4 straight league wins to end our run of 4 straight league losses. We showed, I think, much more control in our attack, in our press, which stopped us leaving as well many of those openings, like I talked about, the teams have really been able to exploit this season. But then the defense as well, Van Dijk, Kanate, coupled with Mamardashvili in goal, I think provided some real stability for us, which showed because we had our first clean sheet and I want to say 10 or 11 matches. It's been a while. We're not like Arsenal. We've kind of talked about the comparison between these two teams, which is Liverpool. We really like to score. We kind of have to win our games, and we expect that we're going to let up some goals. Whereas Arsenal is happy to go for a 1-0 win. Um, Anyways, though, like we then go to Madrid, or not go to Madrid. We host Madrid, try and prove it wasn't a fluke, and I think we did a really good job of it. I thought we were very dominant in that first half. Bradley went crazy in the back line. The guys up front got shots off that could have put us ahead by a goal or more at the break, if not for one cheeky Belgian goalkeeper. But ultimately, it was a good showing from the whole team, and for the first time in a little while, I actually have some confidence going into a game against a tough opposition.
I think you're totally right to have confidence, by the way, and especially given it's Man City versus Liverpool, which is probably like one of the most unpredictable matchups in the Premier League. It seems like for both teams
Besides,
usually form.
next to Man United, Liverpool. Yeah.
True. Next to Man United, Liverpool as well. Very unpredictable matches. And it's also games where like form often doesn't even matter coming into this match. Like for one game only, you always just get these two teams at their best. So yeah, I don't know. Last time we saw Doku absolutely cook Trent Alexander-Arnold, but Liverpool were just a better team, and it didn't ultimately matter all too much. In this match, who knows?
Yeah, I think okay, I might honestly just get to my prediction now. It's really hard to say with these two teams, but okay, City's attack is looking better now. It's multifaceted. Holland obviously still getting a lot of the goals, but you can get guys like Foden, Savinho, Reinders all to strike in quick succession. And if City can just keep the ball, they can create some very high quality chances, and they don't have to rely solely on Holland. Though that is a choice that they can make if they feel like it. And to be fair, he does score consistently. But Liverpool can also dominate early and press teams off the ball. If we hit City hard in the first half, especially through like Salah or McAllister, we could get a lead before their depth fully kicks in. And yeah, just both these teams have the quality to score from multiple avenues. So it's hard for me to say who might score first or like through which player they're gonna do it. I just see a game where both sides create some good chances for themselves. Neither team will fully control the other for 90 minutes. Both will find the net. I'm gonna call a 1-1 draw here. Maybe a bit optimistic for us after two
Whoa,
wins. It is
this is
probably a
interesting.
bit
Would you
optimistic,
agree
but
with my analysis? Would you agree with my analysis that that if it's a draw, Arsenal have won the league?
that's pretty reasonable. Yeah.
So you think?
Assuming they don't fuck up against Sunderland. Yeah. Which
Yeah, but
honestly I
you,
don't think
but
is
that but you're predicting they
yeah,
won't
my
though, right?
prediction is also that they win. So yeah. Yeah, that's fair.
So you're saying after this match week, that's it.
It's
That's the league
well
over.
after this it's Arsenal's title to lose, I think.
Or
Yeah.
Arsenal's. Well, I think it's already Arsenal's title to lose. Just looking at the table.
Yeah, but now it's like it's we can't really do anything at this point. It's just not in our hands anymore. Nor is it in
Yeah,
cities.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. Um, I'm gonna see. I agree with you. I think this is an impossible game to predict, and my result is a 2-1 City win. And the only reason I have for choosing this over any of the other results is to say I don't think you were gonna choose it, and I think it's gonna be interesting for us to have different predictions.
Okay. I mean, to be fair, for once, actually, with this video, we did start on different predictions, right? For the Tottenham Man U game. I
Yes, we
had,
did. We did.
yeah, I had 1-1 draw. I think you had, was it a win for Tottenham? Yeah. Uh, right. I guess that's all for this video. Very interesting last game, and obviously, as a Liverpool fan, especially, I have to tune into that one. Any other ones you think you're gonna watch besides maybe that City Liverpool?
Well, first off, Tottenham United, of course.
Right.
That is obviously an instant classic, instant
Europa
banger right
replay will
there.
be very interesting.
Europa
Yeah.
replay with two very Well, I don't know if I would call United different, but it improved United in a very different Tottenham different Tottenham squad. Sorry, I should rather say. Um, I think I'm also looking forward to just generally speaking the matches on Sunday. I think are all going to be pretty interesting.
Yeah. Okay, well, I guess that's all for today's episode. Thank you, everyone, for sticking around. We hope you enjoyed the predictions, and it'll be, yeah, some very interesting matches with a lot of potential to change, like the UCL places, some title implications as well. Yeah, definitely give some of these matches a watch, and come back to our
True.
predictions again afterwards. See how well we did. Maybe Darian finally gets a lead for, I want to say, the first time this season.
I think I led very, very early,
Very
like
briefly at the
eons
start.
ago.
Right.
Yeah, very brief at the start.
Briefly at the start,
And
so
man,
maybe you take the lead
dude,
back here.
I think after this episode, it's going to be. I think the entire paradigm is going to shift because of what I said before about City and Arsenal, or and Liverpool, the three. And there's even an opportunity if Sunderland somehow do get a win, and there's a draw here. I believe there is a outside chance that Sunderland will make it to second at the end of this match week, which would be really exciting.
Very interesting. And if they do win, that puts them then at
So we could
21.
see it be 25, 21, 2019. In which
Wow.
case, I think we
Sunderland is
have to
second.
characterize that as a four-way Premier League.
Title race
That's a
with,
four-way
with,
at that
Sunder-
point.
with Sunderland.
Yeah, five-way. If Bournemouth win against Aston Villa, five-way. Who knows?
I mean, dude, even Tottenham, Man U back there, we can't really discount them either. It is
True.
a lot of.
But no,
potential.
Tottenham don't have the depth. I'm sorry. Like, it's not.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. Lot of potential contenders here. The Palace, unfortunately, has, I think, dropped out at this point. They can still go for.
Well, actually, I want to say one more thing. One more team,
Yeah.
though. I know Man United did lose to Nottingham, but listen, at the beginning of the season, what did every Man United fan say? They said, we have the hardest schedule, first 5 game schedule in the league, and we have the hardest first 10 game schedule in the league, and it is game 11 where the Premier League starts. Mark Goldbridge in particular at the start of the season said, if we are within 2 points of Champions League spots after 10 games, which is the hardest part of the schedule, then we can make a push for the UCL. And they are only 2 points away, 10 games into
I
the
think
season.
I think they have 17, right? So they're only 1 point away, even.
Oh, I
They
guess,
are-
yeah, if you count the 5th place spot, then only 1 point away, yeah.
Yeah.
Or sorry, no, even if you count the 4th place, only 1 point.
No,
So
yeah,
yeah.
because Liverpool, Sunderland both on 18.
Yeah, Liverpool, Sunderland. Fair enough, man. A lot of teams still in this.
Man,
Chelsea
you-
obviously could make a run.
Right.
And even Palace is only 1 point behind these teams, so you never know.
Yeah. Brighton may be a little questionable. Honestly, I wouldn't even discount Villa if they keep up good form.
I wouldn't discount Villa either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Very interesting. Lots of good matches to watch, honestly, if you're looking at the title race, the UCL race, Europa Conference, whatever. So watch those matches, guys, and come back to these predictions, see how we did. Maybe one of us takes the lead back here. Or maybe we somehow stay drawed through all of this.
That
and
would be really weird if we
Really
somehow
wacky.
stay drawed with after this. Yeah, that'd be
after all these
pretty
different
odd.
predictions. Yeah. Well, thank you guys for sticking around, and we will see you next week for another set of Prem predictions.
See ya.